Muted.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's meeting on Systech Maintenance. We appreciate your time. Apologies for the change in meeting time to today. We will record this session and make it available to you afterwards. I have muted everybody. If you have a question, please feel free to message Tracy. We'll be happy to help with any sound issues. For the purpose of the presentation, we will walk through the slides and take some time at the end for questions. So please just take a note of any questions that you have. We will come back at the end to discuss them. Okay, so in terms of the structure of this morning's call, there's a series of topics that we'd like to bring you through. The first is introducing you to maintenance. I'm sure many, if not all of you, are familiar with what it is, but we wanted to reposition with you and provide you with information around the value proposition, specifically the benefits for our customer. We'll also talk about the starting point, so when does maintenance actually kick in for our customers? What happens when the first year expires? So that first year carve out, when that finishes, what happens next? Do we charge a reinstatement fee for customers that decide to opt out? How do we structure our CCTS team? So what is the operating model that stands behind the maintenance offering for our customer? Do we have a discounting approval matrix, and what does that look like? What sort of an agreement do we have in place with our VARs? Where VARs choose to provide support to our customers, what does that look like? What are the challenges that we face during the renewal process? And leading to the most important part of today's session is how can sales help? So that's how we're going to drive through today's meeting. To get us started, I thought it'd be worthwhile just to sort of take a moment to look back on the last 3 years in terms of maintenance renewal revenue growth. So if we step back to 2014, a large proportion of our customers were still on legacy support agreements. We launched ES in Q3 of 2013, so a lot of our customers at this point were benefiting from the year one maintenance carve out. Back then we had no growth strategy in place, so this was really the starting point for some of the developments and improvements that we are seeing over the subsequent years. In 2015, we started to define a strategy going forward, and at that point CCTS started to take the lead in terms of leading the renewal conversations with our customers. We were observing kind of an initial renewal rate at approximately 70%, which is particularly low. However, in the same time, we were seeing significant growth, which we achieved in 2015 with a 3.1 million maintenance renewal revenue growth. At the time, though, we were still challenged with the site caps, which were limiting our overall potential growth. Now that we're in 2016, we continue to grow our strategy. The effort that we spent in 2014 and 15 educating our customers about the benefits of maintenance, we're starting to see is now paying off. Essentially how it pays off is that our customers are now going to renew at a higher rate. We're expecting, and our target is to grow that to 95%. We're trying to review our site caps where possible, and we're looking to promote more multi-year programs. So this is just to give you a feel for where we started and where we are now, and we continue to expect to see this growth journey continuing through 2016 and onwards to 2017. So I think the best place to start is to reinforce the importance of benefits and reinforce the importance of maintenance and the benefits and the value prop. So I'm going to hand over to John Milana, who's going to take us through the next couple of slides.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. I think what I'll go through with you on the maintenance definition is probably very familiar to most of you, but I think there are a few nuances or a few kind of angles, if you will, that I'd like to just address with you with regard to our program. and then we'll give you a couple of what's included, what's not included. For purposes of the fact some of you may not be in front of your computer screen, so I'm going to read the definition to you first, and then I'm going to talk about it in a moment. Maintenance, what is maintenance? It is the combination of customer support services and product upgrades, enhancements, and defect corrections that are designed to in combination to facilitate the proper operation of our software products, as well as maintain and improve the feature function of those products over their life cycle. So there are a few critical elements here, and the thing that is most clearly misunderstood around maintenance is really the concept of the software product itself. I think people tend to think of the product as being somewhat like a depreciating asset. I buy it, it's new today, in 3 or 4 years it's going to be kind of old and tired, it's going to be old technology, it's not going to work, it's not going to be as functional to my business need as it was when I bought it. And frankly, it is quite the opposite of that. And that's the principal purpose behind maintenance, is to preserve the value of that software over time. And time generally means 10, 12, 15 years, maybe longer, in production environments, that the software will be in place and be used by our customers. So if you want to think about it in terms of like an automobile, which is a depreciating asset, if you thought, if I could pay 20% a year on the value of my car, but every year they took my car back and remanufactured it. They put a new engine in it, they fixed all the dents in the product, they put all the new features and functions for the new models, and then gave it back to me every single year. That product is going to be in better, it will be more valuable to me 2, 3, 4, 10 years out than it was the day I bought it. And that's the concept behind maintenance. It is continually improving the product and making it as feature and functional rich as it was, in fact, more so than it was the day you bought it. And that's why, in most cases, organizations that are making investments, and those investments are significant, in a software product, that's why maintenance is understood, because it will ensure that product continues to be of greater value, out into the future as it was when I bought it. And so that's really critical, particularly in an environment where there are regulatory and other changes that are going on. So the second part of this is that as part of that continued improvement of the product, that it will continue over time to meet the various regulatory requirements that may be issued over time. And they could be new requirements in new environments, new geographies. They could be changes to the existing requirements. And the realities are that this product will continue to meet those regulatory requirements even when they didn't exist at the time that you purchased the software. So it is a very critical element of making that investment, is that you continue to derive the value of improvements over time, and that's why organizations buy it. And to the point that Suzanne made, ideally 95% of our customers should renew every year, and experience in the industry is it's even higher than that. It's 97, 98%, because there's no reason that I make that investment and then let it start to depreciate because I opt out of maintenance. So if we go to the next slide, the next slide is slide 5 if you're following along. What are the customer benefits for maintenance? Well, first of all, there's a customer support component to this. And so on a client requested basis, we'll provide support, guidance, fixes to facilitate the proper operation of the software, obviously in accordance with its intended purpose. But you have to be understanding of what this is. It is it is intended to be on-site, or I'm sorry, is not intended to be on-site services for a customer. Our support service is done remotely. It is intended to be able to provide information to them, and in fact, there may be instances where we can actually do remote kind of investigation, interrogation of the systems that are in place. But it is not intended to be on-site services. Those are billable services. It is not intended to be training, even though in many cases we find that a lot of the questions that may come in are training in nature. You could tell that individuals are not familiar with the processes and the way in which the software operates, but it is not intended to be training services, and it is also not intended to be implementation services, post-go-live support, reconfiguration work. All of those things are really not part of the ongoing operation, but rather it is a kind of a new use, if you will, for the software. And so we have to be careful that we kind of draw this line of demarcation. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, I think we have been very flexible with our customers in providing these kinds of services, except where, let's say, they become significant or a customer wants on-site service capability, and then we'll obviously have our service team deployed and on a billable basis. Again, the most important thing here is that it is intended to preserve the value of the software over time. Keep it current, keep it operational for its intended purpose. The customer benefits by, in effect, guaranteeing that that software will continue to be of the highest release level that we have provided. We provide technical troubleshooting and hot fixes, patches, whatever are required to keep that software functional for its intended purpose. Because production uptime is critical to almost all of our customers. From my experience, it would be almost Russian roulette to operate in an environment where you did not have that ongoing support structure. And I think what you'll find is if you address that with your customers up front, particularly when there are technical resources like IT personnel that are involved in the original decision making, very quickly they'll understand the necessity for that maintenance service and would provide an opportunity for us to maybe upsell to a kind of 3-year commitment, which is something that we'd like to move forward with. Lastly, having a maintenance agreement in place really guarantees the customer that they're going to have dedicated time and resources available to them to remedy any technical issues, but even more importantly, that software, the value and investment they made in that software will continue to be preserved over extended period of time, irrespective of technology changes, irrespective of regulatory and other changes that affect it. So it is really, it's really preserving the value of their investment. So that's at least at a top level, at a macro level. I'll turn it back over to Suzanne.
Okay, so to summarize around the benefits, maintenance is more than just a help desk, and this is often misconstrued with our customers. To summarize, when a customer signs up for benefits, they are provided with the software releases, the upgrades, updates that they require to stay in compliance with their regulatory requirements and changes. We provide software hot fixes for their supported versions. We offer our customers 365, 24/7 support for any type of issue that they raise with us. We have specific SLAs for our response times, 1 hour for a critical issue, 2 hours for major issues, 8 hours for minor issues, and 2 business days for information requests. To John's point earlier, we provide remote troubleshooting for our customers. We support root cause analysis and problem diagnosis in order to provide the correct remedy for the issue. We provide assistance and operational advice through the process. We also offer a Systech source code escrow account, and we also provide our customers with management reviews where they request to make sure that they understand the maintenance requirements on their side and the management of that going forward, an effort that Tracy spends considerable time supporting our customers with.
If I could just interject, despite the SLA provisions that we have in our agreement, our experience, particularly recent experience as we're tracking this, the metrics around this, our response times are significantly better in most cases than what we're seeing in our SLAs. And in most cases, we're getting back to customers very quickly, you know, within an hour or so, at least in the original response. And we're seeing less than 12-hour kind of average response times on our initial, and sometimes even our final resolution to the matter. But certainly on initial matters, we're getting back to them very quickly. So again, we're more than meeting the obligations that we have under our SLAs.
So when does maintenance start? You know, let's go back to the start of the process. So customer purchases the software license. It's at this point that we will provide the 1-year maintenance coverage. So this is the first year carve-out that you hear us reference, the 20%. So when we receive the purchase order, the software is issued to the customer, and it's at this point that the maintenance support, our SSP, our Systech support policy, commences with our customers. One of the questions that typically comes up with customers is, why would we activate that on release of the software when the project may not commence for 6+ months later? And this comes back to, again, the benefits that John had outlined in the beginning. Is the very reason why we would activate on release of the software is that from this point onwards, the customer is benefiting from our software management and maintenance and the various upgrade programs that may be taking place during that period of time. So from that very point, they are benefiting from the software that is released to them. Something that typically comes up in conversations, and it's an important point for you to understand and communicate with your customer during the process. So once we've started the maintenance with our customer, what happens then when the first year expires? So at the end of the first year, the customer needs to purchase a renewal of maintenance, the SSP, the support agreement, to avail of maintenance going forward for their purchase licenses. The customer is not required to purchase maintenance services to use the software. It is an option for the customer, but an option that we would encourage at the highest level based on the importance that it is for maintaining the software going forward. What Systech does at this point, ideally 120 days, we would start to engage with the customer. 90 days prior, we would then provide a quote to the customer, and in order for the beginning of the maintenance year to start, we would receive the PO and go forward from there. The most important topic really is what happens if the customer declines maintenance. If the customer declines to purchase a maintenance agreement, the customer is therefore no longer entitled to the various benefits that are supported with our maintenance agreement. So that includes no software releases, updates, upgrades, hot fixes, or the technical troubleshooting that we would provide our customers with. By declining maintenance coverage, this means that they will no longer be provided with the updates, but more importantly, the last point is that from Systech CCTS perspective, this means that we are not in a position to support that customer and offer them any technical support. The team in CCTS on receipt of a case will always check what the maintenance agreement is in place for that customer, and if there is nothing in place and the customer has declined maintenance, unfortunately we cannot support or offer any technical support for that customer. We offer level 1 customer care, which is receiving the call, maybe some basic information requests that they're entitled to, but beyond that, they're not in a position to receive any further technical support. So do we charge a reinstatement fee? If the customer decides to opt out, but later, at a later point in the process, decides that they'd like to renew, they are obliged to pay a reinstatement fee. And I'll summarize what's in the box for those of you that can't see the screen. So what our reinstatement fee is, essentially the customer must pay for maintenance support based on either legacy standard pricing, which is pre-ES, or 20% of the total software license purchase price, ES and Uniseries, for the period of lapse time through to renewal date, plus 1 year maintenance support from renewal date. I caveat the 20% based on it may be an agreed percentage as per the MSA, so that's something that we just need to consider when we're compiling the reinstatement fee. It's important to understand the reason why we do that. Again, we don't want to incentivize our customers not to pay for maintenance. Again, go back to the very start of this discussion or presentation, that customers are benefiting from the changes and upgrades that are being made to our software should they decide to come back on board with us. Therefore, that's essentially where the reinstatement fee comes in to play. Just a couple of notes on the reinstatement fee. If there is a site cap with that customer and it's clearly defined in their MSA, the site cap value will be applied for calculating the reinstatement fee for the lapsed period of time. The second point that I'd also add is that in the case where the site cap is not associated to the master agreement, but instead an old SLA is in place, we will submit these for individual review based on the evaluation of the wording. There's quite a lot in the reinstatement fee. I'm conscious that we're giving just a high-level view in this presentation. Very happy to hold a side discussion to delve into further detail. The key message that I wanted to share with you today is that we do charge a reinstatement fee, and it's important that you understand what that includes.
So just one point for clarification here, because I know I've heard the question raised a couple of times. Well, in this reinstatement situation, in effect, the customer was not eligible to receive the support portion of the maintenance and support agreement over that period, so why don't we charge a reinstatement fee that's less than the full value of the maintenance? The realities are, that we sell maintenance and support as a service. It is a combined service. It is not you can buy support separately from buying maintenance, which includes the upgrades and enhancements. So it is sort of you buy it all or you buy none of it. The second thing, of course, is that the day that you go back onto maintenance, because of the way the software is enhanced, it is cumulative. So if you had let maintenance expire for 2 years and you want to come back onto maintenance in year 3, you're getting in year 3 all of the value, all of the benefits and enhancements and patches, everything that was developed over that 2-year elapsed period, you get on day 1. And you're not going to be able to get that in effect for free. So that's the reason, that's the support behind why that reinstatement fee is important, because it is as if you never went off of maintenance. You're being asked to pay the full reinstatement period fee. And of course then the customer says, well, gee, after 4 or 5 years I'd be better off buying a new license. And that's the reality, is after 4 or 5 years the software is probably at a point where it has depreciated, that you may be better off buying a new license at that point rather than reinstating maintenance. But the result will be in effect the same. You'll wind up with the current version of the software, but you'll have paid a new license fee for it as opposed to paying for all of the reinstated maintenance. So it's sort of pick your poison, but that's the rationale behind the pricing structure.
So what does the infrastructure look like from a CCTS perspective behind the scenes, and how does the maintenance agreement blend with our different tiering offerings within the CCTS organization. So very simply, CCTS receives and issues a case from a customer via different routes: phone, email, internet, and other can include various different methods. For example, we've had customers here in training and they've walked over to our customer care team to open an issue. We also will soon be launching our virtual care agent on our internet site, another opportunity for our customers to engage with us through a different channel. But either way, all of the cases come through to us and are initially met with a level 1 customer care support level. And in essence, the objective of level 1 is to support the customer with opening the issue. We use Salesforce.com to create the case. And in some regard, some customers will just want to obtain some information, some documentation, release notes, or general product information. And at this point in our tiering model, our level 1 can accommodate our customer. So what we would refer to as basic customer care. If the issue needs to be escalated, it is escalated to our level 2 support within the team. And at this point, we would start to get into remote troubleshooting with the customer. We would provide any advice that's needed relevant to their software. We would commence diagnosis, problem diagnosis, root cause analysis, and also provisioning of software updates and upgrades. So our level 2s are very much hand-holding and supporting our customers through phone conversations, email conversations, and indeed go-to meetings. When it gets to a level 3, this is typically where we're now really supporting our customer at an advanced level to remedy their issue, reproducing the issue in-house. And more importantly, at a level 3, we're now providing any software fixes to our customer via our engineering team. So I just wanted to present to you a one-slide view of how the team is structured. Very happy to go into more detail on it, but it's important for you to understand the different levels that we provide. And suffice to say that we do offer 24/7, 365. We also offer a language line as well. Happy to provide the team with more information on what that entails. So in terms of discounting, a hot topic amongst the group, important to say that as a matter of policy, we do not discount maintenance. We really want to reinforce that message with the team here today, other than obviously where we explicitly have called out discounting in the customer's MSA. So to take you through the matrix that you're seeing in front of you, which is part of our Excel playbook, I think it's important to build the discounting model under the premise that this is against the 20% maintenance rate. So take, for example, that our list rate for maintenance is 20%. Any discount authorization is applied to the 20% maintenance rate. So for example, if we were to discount the maintenance rate by 10%, this would essentially result in a 2% reduction for the customer, therefore to 18%. And this is very important for you to understand that when we're applying the discount, it is to the 20% maintenance rate. The table is pretty self-explanatory. Anything above 10% needs to go to Lou and John, and above that we will engage with Bob. Hopefully we don't have to get to that point.
Can I add one thing? You should understand that we are putting in place, I think we've offered this to a number of customers already, a 3-year maintenance program, a 3-year commitment, where we will give them a 10% discount with the 3-year commitment. This may be a little different than what we've done in the past. The idea is you commit up front for a 3-year period. We will provide you maintenance at the 18% level as opposed to the 20% level. but you have to commit to the 3 years with payment that will be annual in advance. So it's not like your customer has to pay all 3 years up front. They would still only pay annual in advance, just like they were buying it on an annual basis, but with the fact that they are committing to a 3-year period. So for those organizations that are committed to buying maintenance, this is a way for them to reduce their cost to 18% rather than 20%. And we think that most of our customers should be very interested in doing that.
Okay, so what agreement do we have in place with our VARs? We have instances where our VARs may choose to provide support for our customers, specifically level 1 and or level 2, level 3. So our SSP agreements can be executed directly by the VAR or directly with Systech subcontracting select support services to the VAR. In terms of the pricing, this is built on a percentage allocation of the software license purchase price, not a fixed price per support level purchased, and we can get into some examples on that. This is applicable to all software license at both line and site level. The key thing for us to understand here is that the breakdown of the 20%. So the way this is composed is that our 20% SSP allocation is broken down by maintenance and support. So the 10% maintenance is always provided by Systech. The support element can be broken down as follows. Level 1 typically would be provided by a VAR, and this is one of the key prerequisites for our VARs, and that is at the 2% breakdown. If the customer decides that they would, if the VAR chooses to provide level 2 and level 3 support, so go back to the model I showed previously, this would include technical troubleshooting and the ability to provide software fixes, they would then pay that at 8%. So we receive the 8% for providing that support. If the VAR chooses to just use Systech for the level 3, this would be at a 4%. The VAR would pay us 4% for that. And we have some examples over on the next slide to kind of break this down. Again, this is a topic that probably requires some further discussion, and we'd be happy to do that in a separate meeting. But to give examples, option 1, if the VAR decides to purchase maintenance, that 10% that we talked about, plus level 2 and level 3 support from Systech, they would therefore be paying 18% of the software license purchase price. That's the 10% for the maintenance plus 8% for level 2 and level 3 support. If the VAR purchases maintenance plus level 3 support only from Systech, this would therefore be 14% of the software license purchase price. 10% for the maintenance plus 4% for level 3 support only. This is essentially where they're choosing to manage the support up until level 3, but will come to us for fixes for their software at an engineering level.
So yeah, so one quick point here. So this means how we Systech, together with the VAR, how we share in the revenue stream from that customer. But from the customer's perspective, they're still paying 20%. It's just an allocation based on what services are provided by the VAR directly versus what services are provided by Systech, and then how we share that 20% revenue stream.
So as I said, if we would like to discuss this any further, we're happy to deep dive on the topic. So coming to the end of our presentation this morning, what are the key challenges that we face during the renewal process? And this is quite important for us to share with you in an effort to work collaboratively to grow our maintenance renewal rate going forward. Typically what we experience is that the customer is coming relatively new to the renewal discussion because they never really appreciated the importance of maintenance earlier on in the process. So they may not have had any discussions in the preliminary sales phase, and therefore once that first year carve-out is completed, they're coming relatively new to the conversation. The second point is that they often overlook the value of purchasing maintenance from year 2 onwards, so they haven't fully appreciated the benefits that we outlined at the very beginning, and therefore minimize the need to purchase it going onwards from that year 1. As a result, they often fail to factor it in when they're preparing their budgets. And typically something that we experience is that the end customer may be at a manufacturing level and less as an IT decision maker, and therefore the benefits of maintenance are sometimes overlooked. So it's a different conversation that we're having with the end customer. So with that said, how can you help? As we come to the last slide in the presentation. So what we're really looking for is support in selling the benefits of maintenance during the initial sales phase, walking our customers through the value proposition, explaining to the customer the benefits of having maintenance long term. We're also looking to try to sell the benefits of buying a multi-year program, as John alluded to earlier, and trying to build that model with them to guarantee a 3-year contract, paying annual in advance, but getting their commitment from them for a multi-year maintenance program. Staying in touch with our customers during their budget cycles, trying to remind them of the ongoing importance, having those conversations at the optimum time in their budget reviews. Staying in touch with customers 3 months before maintenance expiration, reminding them of the benefits. Understandably, CCTS, we lead in those renewal discussions, but we would be very happy if you could support us in those conversations, holding the relationship with the customer. And finally, coordinating with CCTS to help with the preparation of the quotes. We need to support you as best possible, and we need to understand the landscape that you're working in with your customer. And ultimately, you know, giving you the information that will help you position those conversations with the customer. Something that we're looking to develop is sort of a 1-2 page data sheet that you can help present with your customers, summarizing the value proposition and being able to use that information early in the sales cycle going forward. Before we open up to questions, I'll look to my colleagues to sort of build on those last 2 points.
Sure. One thing I'd like to express or point out, that the value of this maintenance stream to Systech can't really be overlooked. It is a critical component of the funding of our business, and it is used principally to continue to enhance the product set that we provide to our customers, to continue to meet regulatory requirements and new technological challenges. So it is critical to the ongoing development of our business. It funds directly our development team, and of course, you know, continues to provide funding to the business in general. But it is so important. I will just tell you, I in my past experiences of working with a very large international software company, that one of their principal objectives, as stated by the board of directors, was to have maintenance revenue sufficient to run the business going forward without any services or without any ongoing new license revenue. That was their objective because of the criticality of being able to, in effect, weather the storm for any challenges that the future might bring. Is they knew that they would have achieved the level of success if their maintenance stream could support the operation of the business going forward. So that's really our objective as well. We would like to get to where 98 or 99% of our customers understand the value of the maintenance stream, and I think it's critical that in the selling process that we take advantage of those individuals that are in decision-making roles, because I believe it is highly likely that they understand the importance of maintenance, and if we can sell them on that concept up front, and even particularly that we might be able to get them to commit to a 3-year purchase, it will significantly improve our renewal rate down the road. If we sell them on the value up front, those renewals should be almost perfunctory, and it will ensure that we'll get the maximum value for our maintenance.
So good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. First of all, thank you, Suzanne and team, for putting together all the information on maintenance. We all know from looking at the history that maintenance and this kind of path forward hasn't been a priority for the company for many years, but you can see over the last year and a half, it has become a major priority, and it will only increase as we go forward for the reasons both Suzanne and John shared. I can tell you that we have made significant investments into the development area of the business to bolster architecture, how we build software, using agile methodology, and everything else that we put in place to really improve the effectiveness of our software. That can't be done without the investments that go forward with maintenance. So we know it's a value-added sell. It absolutely is a value-added sell. We also know that if we're just going to compete on price, we're not going to be able to sell the value-added attributes. So our goal is to really push us in that direction, which will require feedback to make sure that our content and materials are where they need to be to help better enable you in the sales process, to help sell this, to help the company sell it. For me, if I put my old operational hat on, I always used to look at it this way when we purchase material handling equipment or any kind of sophisticated automated equipment that enabled operations, is we always used to look at four key things. One, it reduced hassle. In large companies or even really medium and small companies, you got to cut a PO, you got to estimate, you got to get it approved, you got to go through a long, extensive PO process to arrange to get a fix in place. With this, you don't. You pick up the phone, you pick up the right medium, you contact Systech, and we're there. The other thing that can't be overlooked, and it needs to be even quantified better in all of our material, is uptime. When you're a manufacturer and you're concentrating on OEE and uptime efficiency, you know, you have to keep that system up. For us, in what we're doing, especially in the pharma side and talking to some accounts myself, we're mission critical software. If our software goes down, they can't produce product. So it's not like we've looked at it in the past where it's just a machine situation and we can fix the machine. That software doesn't work. They can't produce product. But on a maintenance agreement, we don't have the upgrades. They don't have the upgrades in place to ensure the software is where it needs to be from a stability and uptime perspective. Early on in the discovery phase, we need to know how much downtime costs the company, because we can use that information to help us with this sale. The other thing is expense predictability. Operations people are measured on actual expenses compared to budget. So with this, you get a fixed fee. You understand and can control your costs throughout the year. Without it, you can't. Again, you don't know what it's going to cost. We understand that, but you can help with expense predictability. And the last thing is, especially from an operating perspective, we used to call it, you know, Murphy's Law is always here. In operating perspective, when a system goes down, usually the most, you know, inopportune time, you know, the thing shuts down and we don't know how long the thing is going to take to get fixed. We don't know what the path is and so forth and so on. But what we want is to give our customers a peace of mind, knowing that they bought the best software from the best vendor and they know they purchased the best support plan. It helps them with that peace of mind. So again, all this stuff, we can work together to tailor our content to help better enable it. But this is something we're going to have to sell as a value-added play throughout the entire sales process. And we've seen dramatic improvements just when we focus on it. So I know if we focus on it with the right content, we can show that value add and differentiate ourselves.
Thanks, Lou. Okay, so we're ready to open up the line to any questions. I am going to unmute you all, but if you wouldn't mind muting yourself if you do not have a question to avoid any feedback.
Hi, Suzanne. This is Harry. Will you be sharing the deck with us after the session?
I will share the presentation. I will share the recording, and we will probably even look to make this available in our LMS to enable anyone within the sales and wider organization understand the benefits of maintenance.
And then the follow-up question is the two slides that reference the VAR. and how we share maintenance versus level 1, 2, and 3 support. Are we free to share that with any potential of ours by way of explanation? Just the 2 slides, not the whole deck.
Yeah, that's our kind of standard pricing structure, so yes.
Okay. And then my final question, we had a meeting some time ago that I participated in where we talked about levels 1, 2, and 3 versus tier 1, 2, and 3. So my question is whether those 2 terminologies have now been, I guess, consolidated to mean the same thing, because when I was in the meeting, there appeared to be a difference between the 2 when you refer to level 3 versus tier 3. Seem to be 2 different things.
So I can answer that for you, Harry. I think the most important thing for our customers is to understand that when we talk about level or tier 3, and I'll leave the terminology for a second, that includes engineering fixes for the customer. So regardless of who's doing it, Systech does provide that at a level 3 offering. I think we are internally grappling with some terminology, and we're on the path to align on what's the best terminology to go forward with. Level is correct. That is the terminology that's used in the industry. We have some documentation currently in place that references tiering. So there's more of a journey that we have to go along if we're going to align on terminology, and that is something that we're doing. But I think keeping it simple for our customer, whenever we talk about 1, 2, or 3, it's important that we are offering at a level 3 software fixes via Systech, which indeed is our engineering team, but collaboratively Systech is providing that offering at a level 3. Does that help answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the group?
Hi, Suzanne, it's Ash. Sorry, I was talking on mute. I have a question especially regarding reinstatement fees. When a customer calls in and they're a site with, let's say, 5 lines, and they call in with an issue and we realize they don't have support and they have to reinstate the line for support, do we charge them for the entire site with the 5 lines, or are we okay to track it on a line-by-line basis? And the reason why I ask this is because of situations where they may be calling for line 1, but they have an issue with line 3, and how do we tackle that? Are we tracking it by serial number? That's really my question: is would we charge them just for that 1 line, or for the whole site to get the whole site on support?
Yeah, so I'll try to answer that, Ash. This is John. In part, a lot of this will depend on the information that we have available about that site. There are certain products, like certain of the older Vision products, etc., that are not subject to maintenance. We don't have a kind of maintenance service that can be provided for them. There are also products that that obviously that would be subject to maintenance. What our objective would be, and I don't know that we've worked out all the details yet, but our objective would be for all of those lines that are subject to maintenance, that we can provide maintenance on. For all the common types of lines, so if it's a serialization line, they have 5 serialization lines. Ideally, that our objective is that all of those lines have to be covered in that renewal. They can't selectively say, well, I'll take 1 of these and 2 of those, because in effect the services and the maintenance, the upgrades, enhancements, patches, all of that being made available to them, in effect they could apply to any of those lines on the site. So it would be our expectation that if it's, for example, a uniseries line that we would expect that all of the Uniseries lines in that site would be covered in that renewal.
Okay.
I think that's our current perspective. We haven't gone through all the iterations because there's lots of, call it exception scenarios that we would like to evaluate, but that's our going in position, is that we will not allow them to selectively, oh, I'm going to pick one line out of 5 and just get maintenance on it.
Uh-huh.
But there'll be more to come on that, Ash. It's a good question.
Yep. Okay.
I have a quick question. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
If a customer doesn't have a service support agreement and they run into a technical issue, are we able to provide them a block number of hours for support?
No. Yeah, Summer, in the past, we used to actually do that at one point in time. We stopped that about a year ago, and we do not offer it as blocks of time.
Okay. Thank you.
That would be the equivalent of buying health insurance, but instead of buying it in advance, you wait till you get sick and then you buy health insurance. And that's not the way health insurance works. It's not the way maintenance works.
No, yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's just some of the opposition that we would get in the field, like for a simple vision system that's running lot EXP, they never call in for 5 or 6 years, and then they have maybe like an issue, and then they don't some of the value that we kind of get from them is saying, well, we've never called in for this vision system. It's just lot EXP. It's a very simple system, and 5, 6, or 8 years have passed by and we only called once. So that's why I just was interested in whether or not we provided some type of blocked hours or something like that.
No, I think that's just similar to any kind of insurance, right? That you would have. So, no, it's really giving you insurance that you're protected should something happen. So.
Thanks, Summer. Last call for questions. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. To Harry's question, I'll share the presentation and the recording and look forward to scheduling any further deep dives on any topics in particular from this morning's presentation. So thank you all.